So on June 12, 2026, Elon Musk became the first person in recorded human history to have a net worth of over $1 trillion. And here's how. For some sense of scale, $1 trillion is more than the entire annual economic output of Sweden, more than the Netherlands. If you started spending $1 million an hour the day Musk was born, you still wouldn't have spent $1 trillion by now. The reason he crossed that number on that specific Friday is that his rocket company went public on the stock market. SpaceX priced its IPO at $135 a share. By the time trading closed, the stock was sitting at $161. The company ended the day valued at over $2 trillion. Musk owns about 42% of it. Where he actually came from. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971. His mother May was a Canadian-born model and dietitian who has described working 5 jobs at once at certain points in her life. His father Errol was an engineer and property developer who, according to multiple accounts, including his own, had an interest in emerald mine in Zambia at some point during the 1970s and 1980s. Musk himself has said repeatedly over the years that he didn't come from money, that he paid for college through loans, that the emerald mine story is exaggerated. What's documented is that Elon Musk, at the time of his divorce from May, owned a yacht, a private jet, and several properties, so the family wasn't struggling, by no means. Whether that counts as rich probably depends on your reference point, and Elon Musk seems like uses a high one. His parents split when he was 10. He chose to stay with his father. At 17, he left South Africa for Canada, partly to avoid mandatory military service. He got into Queen's University in Ontario, then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania to study economics and physics. In 1995, he got into a PhD program at Stanford and then dropped out to start a company instead. The company was called Zip2. It made online city guides for newspapers, which was actually a useful product in 1995 before Google Maps existed. Compaq acquired it in 1999 for $307 million. Musk walked out with about $22 million. He spent $10 million of that almost immediately on a new startup called X.com, an online bank. X.com merged with a competitor called Confinity and then became PayPal. In 2002, eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Musk's share came out to around $180 million after taxes. He was 31 then. The 2 bets. He had $180 million in cash and 2 ideas that essentially everyone around him thought were going to lose all of it. The first was an electric company, not a new idea in 2003. GM, for example, had actually built an electric car in 1990s called the EV1, and by most accounts it worked. Then GM took all the cars back from leaseholders and had them physically crushed. The official explanation involved liability and the cost of maintaining a service network for a completely different drivetrain. The cars are gone either way. The second idea was actually a rocket company, and then Elon Musk in 2001 actually went to Moscow. In Moscow, Musk tried to buy decommissioned Soviet ballistic missiles. Musk wanted to use those decommissioned ballistic missiles to use as rockets for his Mars mission that he was planning. And the Russians, of course, didn't take him seriously. One meeting apparently ended up with an official spitting at him. He flew home, did the math on building rockets from scratch versus buying Soviet surplus, and concluded that building was cheaper. So he put $100 million in SpaceX and the rest into Tesla from his own money. His friends at the time said that they wanted to talk him out of it. One of them apparently printed out a list of every rocket company that had ever failed and handed it to him on the way to the airport. Musk said that he already knew the list. And Tesla was actually founded in 2003 by 2 engineers named Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. Musk came in as a chairman and lead investor in 2004, putting in $6.5 million of the first funding round. He became CEO in 2008 after a boardroom restructuring that Eberhard and Tarpenning later described as a forced ouster. They eventually settled a lawsuit over it, terms undisclosed. Musk now gets a co-founder credit on the company. SpaceX's first 3 rocket launches between 2006 and 2008 all failed. The 4th one, though, worked. Musk has said publicly that if it hadn't, SpaceX was finished and that he was out of money. The same week the 4th rocket succeeded, he closed in an emergency funding round for Tesla, which was also days away from bankruptcy. So in the end, both companies made it through. When the rockets started landing. The thing that changed SpaceX's economics happened on December 21st, 2015. The Falcon 9 launched a payload into orbit, and then the first stage booster, the main body of the rocket, the expensive part, came back down and landed on 4 legs at the launch site in Cape Canaveral. Before that date, December 21st, rockets had always been single use. You build it, you launch it, and then it falls into the ocean as garbage, essentially. They also put footage of how their boosters failed. Here they are. Reusable rockets meant that the cost per launch dropped significantly, which meant SpaceX could underprice everyone else while still making money. They won a NASA contract to fly astronauts to the International Space Station. Before that, NASA had been buying seats from Russia's Roscosmos for around $90 million per person. SpaceX's arrangement worked out cheaper. Alongside all of this, SpaceX started to build Starlink, a network of small satellites in low Earth orbit that can provide internet access pretty much everywhere on the planet. There are over 7,000 Starlink satellites on the Earth orbit, and you can track them live on the website. And Starship is the current project, the largest rocket ever built. The plan, according to SpaceX, is to use it to reach the moon and eventually Mars. Whether the Mars part happens within any reasonable time frame is genuinely unclear. The hardware exists. It flies, and the booster lands itself back on the launch pad, caught by what SpaceX calls Mechazilla arms, which is exactly what it sounds like and looks like. The number. By early June 2026, before the IPO, Musk's net worth was sitting around $835 billion, built mostly from his Tesla stake and SpaceX's private market valuation. Then SpaceX priced the IPO at $135 a share and started trading on June 12th. The stock opened at $150 and closed at $161. The company ended that day valued at just over $2 trillion. SpaceX raised $75 billion from the offering, the largest IPO in history. The previous record was Saudi Aramco at $29 billion. Elon Musk's stake in SpaceX comes out to roughly $866 billion at the IPO price. Add in his Tesla holdings of about $280 billion, and his total crossed $1.1 trillion by the close of trading on June 12th, according to Forbes and Bloomberg. One thing worth knowing, he can't actually access any of it yet. Standard IPO lockup. He can't sell his SpaceX shares for over a year. The number is real, $1.1 trillion, but he cannot access these money because it's not cash. The comparisons in the coverage have been striking. Musk's current net worth is larger than the GDP of Sweden, larger than Ireland, larger than Taiwan. His personal wealth now exceeds the combined net worth of the next 5 richest people on Earth. Oxfam, working from Forbes' data, calculated that Elon Musk holds more wealth than the bottom 46% of the global population. That is roughly 3.8 billion people. So Elon Musk, one person, holds more money than 3.8 billion people. Let that sink in. Elon Musk signed a giving pledge in 2012, which is a commitment to donate the majority of your wealth to charitable causes. And Elon Musk is worth now $1 trillion, $1.1 trillion. And I don't know, maybe by the end of his life he will be worth $2 or $3 or $4 trillion. I don't know, nobody knows. And also we don't know how much of his wealth he will be donating to charity. And I don't know whether those charity companies are real companies. Also, Elon Musk openly supported Trump when Trump was running for presidency, and I think that helped him a lot with government contracts and etc. and etc. As of now, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are not friends anymore, maybe? Seems like. I don't really care, but I think that Elon took what he needed. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.